All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 745 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. Let's jump back to the Falcons today, and with what's going on in the world of the NFL, a lot of things could be a trickle down effect. Now, there's a report out saying Kliff Kingsbury, former Cardinals head coach, could be interviewing for the Chicago Bears offensive coordinator job. What does this mean for the Falcons? Well, I'm going to tell you about this. If they decide to go get Kliff Kingsbury, and he has strong ties to Caleb Williams. I don't know how the fans may feel about this in Chicago, but it's a high possibility that he will try to pursue Caleb Williams as the number one overall pick, and that's going to leave Justin Fields the odd man out. I know, Justin Fields has a contract situation going on. It was upcoming, and they may not want to do that situation, and they may just try to get Caleb Williams on the cheap and draft around what they have already. With Justin Fields being an odd man out, does that mean that he comes to the Falcons? I think it makes it very possible. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So let's talk about this. If this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on Spotify. I can be found on a YouTube podcast. I can be found on Google Podcasts, even Apple Podcasts. If you're on those avenues, I really appreciate it. Go ahead and give me a 5-star rating if you can. If you want to watch the show, it is on Rumble. You can check it out on Rumble. The link will be down in the description. If you're on Rumble, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for all the support that we've been doing. Pretty good numbers over here. Just viewership and listenership wise, you guys have been absolutely amazing. You can also find me on Twitter or X at VF Baller, and the website is firstandframerates.com. If you want to support the show or donate to the show, CashApp and PayPal links are below. I really would appreciate it. And you guys are absolutely awesome. I really, really appreciate it. Let's get into it. The Falcons need a quarterback. We all know that. I mean, there's no doubt about that. People are talking about they may trade up to get the number one overall pick, which we'll talk about that. Hell, even I talked about that in a previous episode, and we'll circle back to that in a second. But there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, and we may get in a situation where we don't want to give up too much to move up, especially with Bill Belichick coming in. I don't see him trying to move up. If anything, he'll probably want to get a quarterback in here, a veteran, and use the draft picks to continue to mold this team the way it needs to be. Now, I would say this. The possibility of Justin Fields moving on and making it possible for the Falcons to get him is not a bad idea. It really isn't. You bring him here to Atlanta, you got a quarterback. He's still a little bit rough around the edges, but you bring him in with, let's say, a Josh McDaniel, or even if neither one of those guys, as far as Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels come to Atlanta, any coach that comes here, I think they could do wonders with Justin Fields with this offense. I wasn't necessarily a big proponent of it, but when things become more of a reality, or things that seem like it could be a possibility, I kind of just let things fall back and let it run its course. Because, I mean, I'm a guy behind the microphone. I can't make, everything the way it is, For me, I'm more like, I give out my opinions about it, and and just roll with it. I'm not a big fan of certain things, but I still just roll with it. Why? Because, like I said, I'm just a fan. I voice my opinions and keep it moving. But looking at this whole situation with Kliff Kingsbury, I think I spelled his name wrong on the title. Let me go back to that. Do a little bit of inside work in here. I know some people probably said that already, but I think that's good. Yeah. Okay. So with Kliff Kingsbury coming in, possibly, because he's only getting interviewed for the Bears offensive coordinator job, I think it'll be a strong consideration that you go get, Caleb Williams. You got to understand, Kliff Kingsbury did a decent job with what's the kid name? Kyler Murray. He did a pretty good job with Kyler Murray. I mean, even when he came into the league, Kyler Murray was a number one overall pick, and we saw like, okay, he's too small. He can't do this. He can't do that. It turned out to be a pretty decent, pretty solid quarterback. I mean, he beat my Falcons, but like I said, He turned out to be a solid quarterback. Now Chicago is a different beast. It's a different animal. It's cold up there. You know, the fan base is a little different. You know, Chicago plays a different style of ball. But to be quite honest, they may need to change that up because their different style of ball did get them to one Super Bowl recently. Well, I didn't say recently. That was what, 20 years ago, almost. You know, it was almost 20 years ago. Wow, 2006, almost 20 years ago. Crazy. But you did pull that off, but it's like you didn't do it with the quarterback. You may need to change up some things. You bring a guy in like Kliff Kingsbury, you probably will make things happen. You know, I mean, the team offensively is not that bad. Defensively, they look good too. And to be honest, you go get, Caleb Williams, you try to get somebody else there that could be a pretty good weapon on the other side of DJ Moore. You're going to have a pretty good squad. I mean, they played pretty well down the stretch. And to have a rookie, on a rookie contract you continue to build around is not that bad of an idea. Where does this lead the Falcons? Well, when you look at the Falcons, just like I said, this team is pretty much ready to go. This team is literally a quarterback away to being one of the top teams in the NFC. You look at the NFC right now, not all things may change by next year, but you look at the NFC right now, you look at the team like the Packers, you look at the team like the Lions, you look at, those type of, you even look at the Buccaneers, you look at those teams, the Lions did beat the Falcons pretty handily, but when you look at the other teams, the Falcons are right there in the mix. The Falcons could easily be where the Bucs are right now. I mean, you just got to understand that Coach Arthur Smith, his play calling wasn't the best, but you whiffed on the quarterback as well. But with Justin Fields, I think Justin Fields will do really well with the weapons that we have in Atlanta. You got to understand, even when in Chicago, he didn't have all of these weapons. He didn't have a Drake London. He didn't have a Kyle Pitts. He doesn't have a Jonnu Smith or a Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier. He doesn't have an offensive line like the Falcons have. He's not playing in the dome, So it's like the more I think about it, once I step back a little bit, it seems like this is something that could happen. It seems like it's a possibility. And with Kliff Kingsbury, possibly getting, interviewed and possibly take the job, I see it as going to be a thing because I don't think Kliff Kingsbury is coming to Chicago to coach Justin Fields. That just doesn't make any sense, especially when your quarterback that you just had in college is going pro. And once he goes pro, now you're going to be interviewing for the same job for the team that has the number 1 overall pick. It's almost just the stars are just lining up. And I mean, Justin Fields, as much as they like him, he's probably the odd man out. They could probably get some draft capital for him. Before I get out of here, I will say this. I don't expect the Falcons giving up their 8th overall pick for him. If you want to give away a 2nd and a 5th, and a 2nd next year or something like that, I mean, that's cool. I don't see where it's going to be an issue where you're going to be giving up some first round picks, let alone the 8th overall pick. Maybe the first round next year, I could see that. But I just don't see nothing like, okay, we're going to give up the 8th. I mean, they'll have 3. Then at that point, they'll have, 3 first round picks in the top 10? That'd be absolutely insane. I mean, I don't think that's ever happened, I know that, like I said, the Bears had number 1, not the Bears, but the Texans had 1 and 4, I think. There was like 1 and 4. And they ended up moving up to get, their pass rusher or whatever the case may be. But I think, and not only that, then the Falcons could actually look into getting a pass rusher in the first round. You may miss out on that 2nd round pick and not get that receiver that we talked about in the last episode, but you can get a solid receiver in the 2nd round to go along with the weapons you have. You already have some pretty good weapons. I'm not going to say you need a number 2. I'm not going to sit here and say you don't need a number 2. But what I will say is you could probably find a solid receiver late in the draft. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, in other words, you don't have to get a number 2 receiver that high up, 1st or 2nd round. If we're really being, if we're really looking at this, stepping back and looking at this, I mean, yeah, it'd be great to get Polk at 2nd round, but do you really need him that bad? Really? Especially when you could possibly, trade for a quarterback that's, I ain't gonna say he's a proven quarterback, but you're looking at a guy that you're talking about a resurgence. This could be a resurgence of a guy who can have a bounce back at home. Basically, I think he's from Kennesaw, so he's like, what, 15, 20 minutes away from downtown Atlanta? I mean, without traffic, obviously. Maybe, 30 minutes without traffic. So he's basically home. And I think this team caters to his, abilities. The main thing is you just got to get the right coach and the right offensive coordinator in here to make things happen with all these weapons you have. So at the end of the day, I feel that, with this Kliff Kingsbury news, we probably going to especially if he gets hired. If he gets hired by the Bears, we're probably seeing the end of Justin Fields in the Bears uniform. You can go ahead and get that number 1 printed on a Falcons jersey and try to go ahead and get him here, because I think that's probably the most ideal move at this point. Like, the way I'm looking at it, it's like we're like the only team in the NFC that needs a quarterback, it feels like, at this point. It's pretty crazy, but let me know what you guys think. If you like this commentary, the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think, man. Does this correlate to y'all? Let me know. I could be found on Spotify, Apple, Google, YouTube podcasts, YouTube and Rumble. If you want to watch the show, it's on Rumble. If you want to listen to the show, it's on all the other platforms. Even on YouTube, you can listen to the show on YouTube. The podcast should be all good on YouTube. I could be found on Twitter at VFBaller. The website is firstandframerates.com. Also, if you want to support, CashApp and PayPal links up below. And we're going to get up out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, enjoyed the podcast, enjoyed the audio. And you guys take it easy, and y'all enjoy your Friday. Y'all be blessed. Peace.